Hello and welcome to Encore with me, Jade Barker. Coming up in today's programme, he's the youngest son and musical heir of legendary Afrobeat pioneer Fela Kuti. Seun joins us in the studio to talk about beating his own path and his new record, A Long Way to the Beginning. Bridging cultural differences through art, musicians from across the African continent come together for a special concert here in Paris to raise funds for the Central African Republic after months of sectarian violence. And what do you get when you cross the Chinese Bjork with a French singer simply known as M, a cultural fusion that both artists are hoping will help win them over new audiences. All that and more still to come, but first let's go meet our guest. And I'm delighted to welcome to the show today Seun Kuti. Hello to you. Thanks so much for coming in to speak to us.
Thanks for having me.
You're here in Paris as part of the festival Banlieue Bleue. You're a singer and a saxophonist, and you've just released a new album, as I just said, with your band Egypt 80. It's called A Long Way to the Beginning.
Yeah.
Interesting title. Your father Fela, as I mentioned, is considered the founder of the Afrobeat genre. Is this album taking it back to where it all began, back to your roots?
Well, I feel the music is always the roots. You know, we don't even have to go back. It's everywhere. You know, our roots is, that's where we stem from. But the music is my own interpretation of what I believe the Afrobeat sound is all about. So this is what I've always believed when I make my own records.
All right. Well, let's take this now to the song off the album. This is IMF. I love it. You're bopping along to your own song then. You really can't help doing that, can you? Pretty provocative lyrics, though, and it's a thinly veiled criticism of the International Monetary Fund. You're using the zombie metaphor there, as we just saw. What is it that you're trying to say in this song?
Well, it's not only about the IMF. I feel the song, the title, as it is a representation of all multinational corporations in Africa, not just the policies of the IMF or the World Bank that are detrimental to the majority of us, because the so-called investments that they say will help Africa to grow are so far only benefited probably 2 or 3% of the continent. And what we as the general population and citizens of Africa see is the pollution, the destruction and the corruption of our system. I don't believe that the environmental degradation that we've experienced, is kind of equal to the investment that they say we have received from the so-called.
You're very vocal in speaking out for what you believe in. Do you think that music, Afrobeat in itself as a musical genre is quite political. Do you think that you use your music as a way to express social criticism or highlight things that you think are wrong in society?
Well, I think music and arts in general should be a mirror image of society, so whatever the majority is experiencing is what our art should represent, If you look back at the Renaissance time in Europe and the development of the European society, into a more equal society, it was led by artists and poets and authors who thought it was important to educate the people to know what's going on. And the same is necessary here in Africa today.
Your father was one of those people who also used his art to speak out about what he thought was wrong. You actually started playing music from a very young age, and then your father passed away when you were just 14, and you took over his band, Egypt 80. Did you feel any pressure, or that you had some, rather big shoes to fill?
Well, it wasn't really a takeover, but as you said, I was playing with the band since I was 8, And we just kept playing because we all believed in Fela's message, and I believe that the Egypt 80 is an African musical institution that shouldn't die because Fela is no longer with us. He should exist and train other band leaders, as Tony Allen has come from the band, Likadi Mashawan, Dele Shosimi, Fela Kuti, so many great artists, Seun Kuti, so I feel it should continue.
You've got a large musical family, that's for sure.
So I believe the band should continue to to be alive and kicking, you know. So for me, it wasn't a takeover. We just believed that Fela's band should still be there, and the band said, let's keep playing, and we're here today.
Right, and you're a saxophonist, as I said, like your father. Was it him that influenced you to take up this instrument in particular?
Definitely. He used to have a habit of lining up his saxophones in the living room when I was a kid. I was about 5, you know. Very curious, so I used to go and try and make it sound. That was the goal. You know, you blow, you know. And then when you get a little sound, you're happy. Then he caught me and said, stop playing with me, with my sax, it's not a toy. And he got me one, you know. So I've always had one, you know, and that was the beginning of the relationship with the saxophone.
Right, and what do you think overall that is the importance of Afrobeat music for Africa?
Well, I think for Africa and Africans, you know, the message is a call to self-evaluation and also self-realization. You know, I believe it's necessary for Africans, not just Afrobeat music. I believe all art, as I just said before, sculptures, poets, you know, should try as much as possible to give the people their art.
Right.
You know, sacrifice their art for the people, because this is the only way history can judge us as forebearers of the African Renaissance, and not just people who betrayed their people with irrelevant things.
All right, well, we have to leave it there, unfortunately, but stay with us, Seun, because I'm sure you're going to like this next story. Musicians from all over the continent, including Youssou N'Dour, have come together here in the French capital for a special concert to raise funds for the Central African Republic. Months of sectarian fighting have left the country's infrastructures badly hit, and the money collected will help rebuild a major art centre in the capital, Bangui. Congolese musician Ray Lima says the aim of the concert was to highlight the country's shared culture to overcome the violence.
They don't even know why they hate each other. They follow each other like sheep. Our main objective is to focus on culture and education, and we'll soon realize this hate doesn't even exist. This hate isn't real.
Seun, what do you think? Do you think that art and music can be a way of overcoming and bridging cultural differences?
Oh, yes, of course. I believe that so much, you know. I just feel, you know, when you see things that happen in Africa, having to come to places like Paris to get, you know, the recognition it deserves in the media, you know, it shows that the African government have bred insensitivity, you know, in Africa. That things like this, you know, is not causing outrage in other African nations, what is going on in the CAR. You know, I believe the African governments as well should be more vocal and more upfront in helping other African nations. You know, this kind of thinking is what I believe is lacking, you know, the love for the people, direct for the people. African government only love business and money. They have to change that ideology and focus it on the people.
All right, well, talking about bridging cultural differences, our next report is about two artists who are doing just that. French singer Mathieu Chédid, simply known as M, has teamed up with Chinese artist Shasha. The two are hoping their collaboration will open up new audiences, as our reporters went to find out.
It's with this sombre track, Détache-toi, Detach Yourself, that M is setting out to conquer China. For this song in French and Mandarin, he's working with the underground artist Cha-Cha, sometimes known as China's answer to the Icelandic singer Björk. The duo began collaborating before they'd actually met. M was initially attracted by the quality of Cha-Cha's voice.
Yes, c'est très doux, quoi. C'est-à-dire que
It's so gentle, just as I imagined China to be.
c'est comme un peu mon
It fits in with my dreams about China.
rêverie
Elegance,
chinoise.
softness.
C'est vraiment
All the things I find in Taoism, I find in her too. She's really balanced.
Elle en rajoute pas du tout.
In April, Cha-Cha will go on her first tour of Europe, including to France, a nation she first discovered through its music.
Et là,
When I was really into hip-hop music, I actually first listened to hip-hop was French hip-hop. That's kind of bring me the first picture of what France is like.
It's the meeting of two cultures through music, and for M, a new audience to win over.
It's really electrifying, a rock energy, so much enthusiasm. You could feel the curiosity of the Chinese people, the desire to discover, to understand.
On stage in Shanghai, he mixed intimate songs with big hits. A crowd made up mainly of French speakers sung along. But the Chinese people in the audience enjoyed it too.
I think that a few Chinese people would like M's style, because it's completely different from Chinese music.
After sellout shows in Shanghai and other parts of China, M is heading for Beijing and Singapore as he seeks to please his ever-growing army of Asian fans.
All right, well, that brings us to the end of today's show. Just before we go, though, we've got time to mention one last exhibition that you may find interesting, Seun, actually. I believe you've already gone to check it out.
Yeah.
It's called Great Black Music, and it's on here in Paris at the Cité de la Musique until the end of August. What did you think of it, just quickly?
It was amazing. And I'm not just saying that because Fela was #1, but it was amazing.
All right, well, if you can't get here to Paris to check it out, it features from blues to hip-hop and legends from Bob Marley to Billie Holiday, and it's an immersive exhibition which joins the dots between the different musical genres of the African diaspora. If you can't make it here, here's a sneak peek. Enjoy and see you for more culture news soon.